Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another jam-packed episode of Silver Screen, the only show to delve into the business behind films and filmmaking. I'm your host, Robert Haynes, and with me, as always, is the lovely...
It's Ropiwa Madzana.
And it's just the two of us today, Ropiwa.
We're
going alone.
Exactly, but I think we'll have fun.
We always have fun, let's face it. Well, the summer movie season has come and gone. And other than a record September, it's been a huge disappointment all round, not only for Hollywood, but the movie-going public the world over. Now, major cinema chain owners in the United States and Canada are putting the blame on the movies themselves.
Attendance has been on a downward trajectory since 2002, when 1.57 billion consumers lined up at the ticket booths.
That's so true. And you know, the thing is that people forget, although the revenues may have gone up, the actual numbers are the things that are dropping in terms of the attendance at the cinemas. Because ticket prices have gone up exponentially over the last 15, 20 years. But as you said now, the attendance is the thing that's dropping.
Dismal. Exactly. So I mean, in 2016, that number had fallen to about 1.31 billion admissions.
Now, if you dive deeper into the data, which we have, the trend grows more worrisome, particularly amongst younger viewers. That includes you, Rafi. In the past 6 years, the number of frequent moviegoers in the millennial age group fell nearly 20%, according to data compiled by the Motion Picture Association of America.
And that's due to the fact that there's a saturation of product out there, and with all the streaming services that we're seeing, movies are no longer the only choice. And that's especially true for the all-important, people like me, millennial market. So unless the studios find a way to make movies that engage younger viewers, their entire business model is at risk of collapsing.
So all we can do is collectively hope that Hollywood heed this warning and maybe just stop trying to pander purely to the younger generation, and remember that there's a whole world of cinema goers out there as opposed to just the 16 to 24 age brackets.
So on the eve of the opening of the BFI London Film Festival, luminaries from the worlds of film, music and fashion as well as culture joined forces to celebrate another year of outstanding film and honour emerging British talent. Many high-profile celebrities were in attendance to kick off the 61st London Film Festival, with Michelle Dockery, Patrick Stewart, Baz Luhrmann and Wes Anderson all walking the red carpet at London's Guildhall. The Silver Screen team caught up with some of them on the red carpet in London. Take a look.
We're here to celebrate tonight British film, past, present and future.
Or if I could go back in time, I think I would take advice from the people that are on nights like this. They are full of experience.
I wish I had been braver. I wish I had been actually fearless.
Stick with your friends. It's always served me well, and for some reason I knew that, and that's been the one thing I've been so grateful for.
I think because I fell in love with film so young, there was a point where I thought, well, all I know about is film, but actually they're always close to your heart.
Creativity is not something you can force, it's not a structured process. So giving our filmmakers the time to be able to research the next projects and be creative is really what it's all about for IWC, and we like to support that.
£50,000 for a filmmaker, it means everything. It means the difference between starting a career as an artist and not.
It's a brilliant innovation because it takes the pressure off people. It's very, very helpful to everybody who is whether writing or directing or hoping to do those things.
The fact that IWC support first-time filmmakers and the BFI is so enlightening. We can never underestimate the value of creativity and them using their brand to help that creativity in film take their next steps is fantastic.
It gives me great pleasure in announcing that the winner of the 2017 IWC Filmmaker Bursary Award is Daniel Kokatea.
Thank you for believing in me and for seeing that I have something. It feels amazing, yeah. It's been a tricky journey for me, and I just was not sure how people would react or whether or not they would embrace it, and to find out that they are doing is just amazing.
I'm here to celebrate my friend Tilda Swinton, who is speaking, and the BFI and their amazing work with archives, and of course the superb help given them by IWC Schaffhausen, who 2 years ago, I think, very sweetly gave me one of their miraculous watches.
Well, I think we're here to celebrate the best of British films, aren't we? British films that have been over 100 years, and I've been in British films since the age of 16. And in fact, when they did a poll the other day of actresses, British actresses who'd done the most British films, I think I came number 5 or 6 after Judi Dench.
But I think there's a great symbiosis between IWC and BFI. I think it's all to do with the fact that really great work takes time, and the work that BFI does with the archive is very slow and very beautiful, and it's analogue.
It's very important. I mean, it's absolutely important. I just did a short film. It just finished it yesterday, actually, and it was a young talent, new young producer, director, and I think if we don't, then where are we going to go? I mean, we can't just keep on. When I started in American films, all the directors were quite old. They'd literally been in the business for a long time at the beginning. So yeah, bring on the young talent.
It's time to head down to the local turnstiles to see what's new and what's happening at the South African box office for the last weekend. Stronger with Jake Gyllenhaal is doing nothing to entice audiences at the local box office as the film's numbers are low. In 2 weeks, the film has cobbled together a measly 373,000 rand, which isn't saying much for Gyllenhaal's fading star power.
I still like Jake Gyllenhaal. I still think he's a great actor, but I do think he needs to start choosing the odd, sort of slightly more commercial project here and there. You know, I think it was Robert De Niro who always said he veers from the art house to the mainstream, and the art house to the mainstream, and that's kind of how he's kept himself relevant. Same as Jack Nicholson.
Exactly.
He's done a Batman, and then he'll go and do a small art house film or something that's Oscar nominated. You've got to, as you said, diversify to keep yourself relevant.
Exactly.
Pop, Lock and Roll opened a little disappointingly in 12th place with just under 200,000 rand off a moderate 33 screen release for a weak 6 grand per screen average. We really do need to start supporting local films a little better wherever we can. It's the only way we're going to grow not just South African, but African cinema. You haven't seen it yet, have you, Rafi?
I haven't.
I did chat to the producer and the director of the film, Ziggy Hofmeyer and Mayenzeki Baza.
1, 2, 3, stop! If you ever need answers, I'm your guy.
So you and Valentine are trying to change the game. Lockdown is out.
Do the right thing, Mips. Get out of whispering. If a word comes out your mouth about what you saw today, you'll join them.
So turn me up.
Ziggy, firstly, tell me a little bit about what the inspiration for this film was, because I've always found that the dance genre as a whole seems to be a little bit saturated at the moment. What was your inspiration for doing this film?
I've always wanted to make something, you know, for the young market. I've worked in music videos, and I continue to still work in music videos. You know, 15 years in the game now, and so I wanted to take my skills, you know, further than just music videos. And I've also worked a bit in drama, multi-camera drama for the soaps. So I kind of combined what I knew on the youth side with what I knew on the drama side, and you know, it felt like the perfect fit to make a dance film.
And Mayenzeki, how did you get involved in the film?
You know, I mean, when Ziggy and our other partner, Pascal, kind of really brought me in, it's because for me, my passion is because I'm a dancer, so I do salsa dancing, and my dad was a ballroom dancer. So when they said this is the movie they want to make, I really got drawn into it. and I came in just to make sure that it happens.
Ziggy, tell me a little bit about the casting process. When you were looking at your cast, were you focusing on them being dancers primarily before being actors, or how did you balance that act?
Well, the lead role had to be someone who could do both.
Yeah.
And we searched long and hard for him until we found Maurice Page, who plays Calvin on Isidingo. People know mainly for that role. And Maurice used to be a breakdancer in his youth, so he already had the b-boying kind of moves. Acting, he understood the role very quickly. There's a lot of, the character raps that he plays in himself as well. So there was no issues there whatsoever. But what we did do is send him to crumping workshops, because his character was a breaker crumper. So Maurice practiced for a long time before we started filming and before we started any kind of choreography for the film, until he really got that right. The rest of the dance cast are dancers, and there are some dancers who just do like acting as well.
Tell me a little bit about what your hopes are for the film down the line. Obviously, you're releasing in South Africa first. Who did you distribute through firstly, and where do you want the film to go? Do you want it to travel internationally? Are you going to do the festival run? What are your plans with the film?
So basically, locally it's released through indigenous distribution, so they do all our theatrical release. But internationally, so my other company, which is called AAA Entertainment, we're a sales and distribution company also, but we handle the international rights. So from this now, we start exploring all the international platforms, whether it be VOD, whether it be Netflix, whether it be Amazon, and then we look at all the television broadcasters globally. That's our next phase after this release.
As a producer, do you think, and I ask this question to a lot of people, that there is still money in making films? With the video on demand market, the Netflixes of the world, the Amazons of the world, and these sort of piecemeal tiny deals that you're doing per territory at the moment, is it still a viable business proposition to be in filmmaking, do you think?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Every day it gets harder and harder. The return on investment in feature films gets smaller and smaller. The budgets that we work with to create such amazing things are getting bigger.
Of course.
It's hard to make it with small budget, but also the platforms are getting very smaller. And because it's growing, all the VOD space is just taken up, but they're not paying a lot of money for that. So you are dependent on cinema release. If you're going that theatrical release, you're dependent on how much money you make there. Then the rest of the world will be VOD, any other, but it has to be a property that works for the global market.
Now, Ziggy, tell me a little bit about the creative sort of inspiration behind this film in terms of what's the basic plot outline of the film, and sell it to me. Why should people go and watch your film?
When I started the research for the film, I wanted the script to reflect the struggles of the dancers.
Yeah.
And the problem that they have really is, how do you make a career out of dance? Because they're always somewhere in the background behind a rapper, or a DJ. They're always in the background doing something. They're hardly ever in the front of the stage performing as the entertainment itself, and that is the story. That is Raps' story. That is our character story. It's about a guy who's a barman who works part-time as a dancer, and he gets a lucky break at a club when the owner of the club offers him a full-time job dancing, and he sells the audience on dance being the entertainment. And we do have. We do have annual dance competitions like Red Bull Beat Battle and whatnot, where people do go just to watch dance, but there's not enough of them. I mean, and they're really only in competition form. Now, why are we not seeing dancers why do we not know the names of the dancers or the dance crews? Because these guys are fantastic entertainers in their own right. And so that's kind of what he starts selling the audience, is that, come next week into the club, watch me dance with these guys, we're going to do a breakdance set for you, we're going to do a crump set for you, whatever it may be, and people are just flocking into the club to watch him and the dancers dance. So that's kind of like the dance narrative. And then, tangled into that is this underworld that he gets involved in. What he doesn't realize is the club owner is actually using the club for a dirty deed, which is laundering money for his other business.
No spoilers.
I don't want to spoil too much.
Exactly.
So it gets tangled in this web of underground business.
Exactly. I mean, just to add quickly to Zig, if you don't know how to dance, right? This is the movie for you. People go to musical to learn the songs, but this is the movie if you want to be entertained, if you want to dance, you want to be inspired.
So the dancing is infectious.
It's amazing. It's just out of this world.
What do you think? Let's start with you, Ziggy, in terms of the current state of South African cinema and where it's going to. What are your impressions of it?
Well, I mean, 15 years ago we had Crazy Monkey and like Tsotsi, There weren't any other films really. Now we're releasing a film every month. Certainly the Afrikaans market is releasing a film just about every month. And I mean, they're hit and miss as I understand it, that not every one of those films is making money, but enough of them are making money that people are inspired to go and give it a shot, you know. So we have South Africans making movies now. We're seeing, you know, with the other audiences, the black audiences, movies like Happiness is a Four-Letter Word doing incredibly well, breaking records, you know. So I think we're going to see more of those kind of films being made now as well. So that it's growing, it's certainly growing, but it's also, it's hit and miss. There's no guarantees for any filmmaker out there that this film is going to make them money and you're going to go on and make your next one, which is what, you know, we hope for. That. We hope nothing but the best for our movie.
Of course. Now, Manzeki, on that note, what do you think can be done from a distribution perspective and a local distributor perspective to develop local audiences? Because I mean, that's ultimately the key. It's all good and well making entertainment, but if people aren't going to go and watch it, you know, what's the point? So how do we let people know that these films are out there, and how do we get bums on seats, as it were?
You know, the thing, like you said, I believe we're not making enough films.
Yeah.
That's my thinking. We need to make as many films to give the local audience a taste of feature films. And for a long time, like I said, we come from a history where people have been making all these HIV/AIDS struggle films. Heavy films, you know, where if you look at the local books, all the international films, they're making money, right? You know, we just had a film, Girls Trip, which is a US, it's making money in the box office. So all it is for me is, as content creators, we need to understand what the audiences want to consume. And then start making that what the audiences want to see. There are audiences that are at cinemas that goes to movies. So let's make something for them first. Then with time, we will grow the extra audiences that wants to watch a niche that we have or something new that we want to test with. But for me as a distributor is first make what the audiences want to see.
Do you think that the current distribution model in South Africa is working from a profit share split perspective? You know, the exhibitors take essentially the lion's share of whatever it is you're releasing. Do you think that's fair? And secondly, do you think that there's a model that they can adopt, like something similar to what the SABC did from a local content perspective? Do you think that distributors should be forced to exhibit a certain amount of local content?
See, that's a very, I mean, it's always a contested question, right?
Yeah.
Because what creators want, it's like any other business. So if I build a house, you can't tell me how I must rent my space, right? So it's for me, it comes down is, as a content creator, you can't be focused on one form of exhibition. So you have to know, okay, cool, in cinema, this is what I'm gonna get. In VOD, this is what. So then you split your rights across all these multi-platforms. But if your project works in that, so it's never a problem, because if it works for the exhibition and the cinema, you're never gonna have a problem because people are consuming it. It doesn't matter if you're getting 60% from that, you're making the money that you need. Then you exploit another platform. So I mean, yes, to grow audiences and to really expand distribution, I do think, like any other business, for it to work, I think it will need some form of subsidy from, let's say from government, because that's what they do. Like feature films are highly subsidized.
Well, look at the DTI.
Yeah, so they subsidize everything else, production, development, but they don't subsidize distribution, which is where the money is, right? For me, I'll probably, if I were to do a financing structure for feature films, I'll subsidize distribution.
Manzeki, Ziggy, thank you so much for joining us on Silver Screen, and we're wishing you all the success with your film.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you for having us, and we hope, like I said, if people will go and watch our film, Pop Lock and Roll, and then they tell us what they think, and they can hashtag us on Pop Lock and Roll, and just tell us what you think, learn some few dances, share with as many friends. Let's go to cinemas and make some money, right?
So Robert, you spoke to these guys and you've already highlighted that the release hasn't been successful. What are their sentiments about film in South Africa?
Well, I think their sentiments are similar to a lot of other people's sentiments in that, number one, we need to develop audiences and make audiences aware of the films that are out there. And the way we do that is by spending money on P&A, print and advertising. Unfortunately, local films just don't have the budget to spend on P&A, which is why sort of platforms and shows like this exist in order to give people a bit of a punch here and there. The other thing that we chatted about and that I really feel strongly about is that the overall distribution model needs to change. Exhibitors and distributors cannot take the lion's share of everything all the time. There needs to be some risk on the part of the distributor and the exhibitor. Whether that risk comes in the form of a minimum guarantee, which is a cash payment for said film. So let's say hypothetically, I want to distribute a film. As a distributor, you're bringing me a film. Let's say your film is called XYZ. You have this lovely film XYZ, you spend 5 million rand on. I want to distribute your film. I want to own African rights or sub-Saharan African rights. I then say to you, fine, I will give you a minimum guarantee of $20,000 US. So it's not covering the budget of your film, but if you then take that film and sell it piecemeal to individual territories the world over for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, that adds up. Now what the local distributors are doing is they offer no form of minimum guarantee. Now, as a filmmaker myself, I think that's kind of unfair.
Right.
There needs to be some risk on the part of local distributors and local exhibitors.
Now back to the local box office we go, and Judi Dench returns to the play royalty yet again in Victoria and Abdul, this time exploring the mind of Queen Victoria. This one looks promising considering it's directed by Stephen Frears, who also gave us Danger Liaison, as Robert says, and The Grifters. So opening fairly strong for a smaller release, Victoria and Abdul walked away with a rather regal 310,000 Rand just off 19 screens for a strong per screen average of over 16,000.
Which is not bad for a small art house release. Now another local movie graces the top 10 this week, Vaselinki. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. I can't, they're going to have to just take my pronunciation, unfortunately. An Afrikaans drama. It's firmly lodged in 7th place at the SA box office and has had a pretty good 2 weeks, with its total sitting at a bit over 1.8 million Rand from 41 screens.
Vaselinki, die twee dames is van die welsyn.
Ek sien jy bly by jou ouma hulle. Weet jy waar jou mamma is?
Jy is Oumi en Oupie se meisietjie. En dis dit.
Hierdie gebou het verskillende eenhede wat almal presies dieselfde lyk.
Jy sal weet hoekom praat jy so hotnot. Ek maak seker die bed is opgemaak.
Skielik, my stiefpa se klere met 'n lighter aan die brand gesteek. Nou, mag ek nie meer huis toe gaan nie, maar dit is ook van.
Kom kyk die woning. Is dit moeilik om 'n swart man te wees?
Het is moeilik om enige iemand te wees as jy nie weet wie jy is nie.
How's it? Ek's Dixon.
Stukkie Vaselinki.
Ek wonder maar net wat Dixon gaan sê as hy hoor hy tyd op Bastard Whitey.
Jou ma se liefde is al wat jy nodig het en jy weet is genoeg. Ons is elke dag weer so. Jy is perfek want God maak nie foute nie. Dan kom jy agter sy's dalk verkeerd. Hy is nie spesiaal nie. Sy hoort nie daar nie. Nêrens nie. Met jou het God 'n fout gemaak.
The Lego Ninjago movie, I don't know what that is, opened very wide on 99 screens in 4th place with a reasonable but not earth-shattering 1.4 million Rand.
The Lego Ninjago movie. I mean, really, Ravi, I have no words for these things anymore. It's like this, the animation market is totally oversaturated. It's just too much. And I mean, on that note, the Emoji movie, again, really Hollywood, continues to hold on to 3rd place and banked another 2.1 million Rand from 113 screens for an excellent 2-week total of 8.7 million Rand. Stephen King's It also continues to dominate the local box office with a strong hold in 2nd place for its 3rd straight week. It scared another 2.2 million Rand from SA Cinema Goes for an eye-popping 3-week tally of 14.71 million Rand, setting a new record for the horror genre in South Africa.
Beautiful.
It is. I'm needless to say, I'm delighted about the total for It.
No, it's great.
It's cool.
And in 1st place, we have another new release, a sequel we're actually looking forward to here at Silver Screen. Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle, opened with a splash, a very solid 4.8 million Rand from 106 screens for an excellent per screen average of over 45,000 Rand. So those are again some good numbers for an adult-orientated action film, and shows that maybe the superheroes are starting to wear a little thin at our box office.
Trixie. I saw in you what someone once saw in me. Something that can't be taught. The makings of a Kingsman. Being a Kingsman is more than the clothing we wear or the weapons we bear. It's about being willing to sacrifice for the greater good. I hope you're ready for what comes next.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. For what is a man? What has he got, if not himself? Then he has not. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Oh my God, Harry.
And after all that movie analysis, it's time for a drink, Robert.
I tend to agree with you.
We have another bottle or two of Billionaire Rose Champagne to give away this week. And congratulations to last week's winners, by the way. And this week, all you have to do is answer a simple question. What is the name of the locally produced dance movie that featured on tonight's show?
Email us your answer to silverscreen@abn360.com, as well as any suggestions or comments you might have on the show. I think that's kind of brings us to a wrap, hey,
Exactly.
Rafi?
Kat, we're done.
You see, she's got the lingo right, ladies and gentlemen. She's on the ball tonight. She's on the gas.
I am
From myself, Robert.
And myself, Rofiwa.
It's ciao for now, and we'll see you at the movies.